What's up, nerds, and welcome back to Middle-earth Shadow of War. I am Austin here today, joined by Brent.
Hello.
Mercedes.
Hello.
And Alex.
Hello.
We are back in Nurnen after having just been betrayed.
Utter betrayal.
Utter betrayal by Bruise.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
We defended the fort, and Bruise betrayed us.
Literally stabbed us in the back.
Literally stabbed us in the back. Who's this guy? Knocker a Bloodhound.
Doesn't matter. We've got revenge on the mind.
We do have revenge, but he could be useful in said revenge. I get the feeling he's not particularly here. Hang on real quick. Just come here for a second. That's not... I wanted to pull him closer, not go to him.
Well, here we are.
Excuse me.
Now we're up close and personal.
So, now that we've been utterly betrayed, how do we recover from that?
Well, we need to retake the fortress, basically. It's like plan number one. I can't see. Who are you? Oh, Luca the Haunted. I think I just learned about him, actually. Off screen, I dominated a worm and met this guy. Terrified of curse. Well, I don't think I have any curse weapons.
No, unfortunately not.
Let me just dominate you. Oh my gosh, look at that dominate speed. He's so low level.
I guess I never realized. Is that dependent on their level?
It's a combination, yeah. So, go ahead and get out of here.
Okay.
If they're lower level, it's faster.
Just
What?
You said, go on, get out of here. And I said, okay.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I'm not here.
Yeah, sorry, Brent. He's not here anymore.
So yes, how does that work?
So basically, if they're lower level, like, it just takes faster. I also have an active ability or a passive ability more accurately, that decreases the time it takes to dominate. And so if they're lower level, it goes faster. If they're closer to your level, it takes longer because they're just tougher and not as easy to defeat. Just shoot you in the head a couple of times.
That always does the trick for me.
You getting shot in the head or you shooting people in the head?
Yes.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, I have never shot anyone in the head.
I would hope so.
Or been shot in the head.
I would also hope so.
I'm a fraud.
years of academy training wasted.
Well, no one on the internet is really who they say they are. Oh, hello, Grog.
Like Grunkle Stan, he wasn't who he said he was.
He wasn't.
Yeah, he was on the internet.
He was.
He was on the internet.
Was he? I don't know if Uncle
Actually,
Stan has ever seen the internet.
I mean,
me.
he ran a pug smuggling operation, so...
Go!
I would call that puggling.
Puggling.
My gosh, I love that show.
Stuck.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Alex Hirsch, I wish that he had more stories to tell.
Honestly.
Hey, he's someone, like, doesn't he? Oh, hello. Who are you? I don't think you really matter. You're not that tough, but a boy's a boy, I guess. Doesn't he, like, write for Rick and Morty? Or not Rick and... Yeah, doesn't he write for Rick and Morty now?
I think, yeah.
Ow.
Well, did you hear... I want to say it was on The Simpsons? Bill Cipher had a cameo, and it was his voice. He voiced him, and it was stuff. It was...
Oh, of course you gotta have...
You gotta...
It's Alex Hirsch, man.
And I was like...
Did he voice Bill in the original series?
Yes, he did.
I did.
By the way,
Yeah.
I read... I know I've told you. Remind me again who did Twin Peaks.
David Lynch.
David Lynch. Okay, I thought that was right, but I wanted to make sure I was right.
Yeah.
So I read this trivia. Alex Hirsch asked David Lynch, you know Twin Peaks. You know the show Twin Peaks?
No.
So Twin Peaks is actually part of what Gravity Falls is based off of. Alex, give us a synopsis. You've seen the show.
So basically, Twin Peaks is about... He is a government agent. His name is Agent Dale Cooper. And he gets assigned to this case in Twin Peaks, Oregon. And it's basically the murder of this girl. And it's basically this girl in town everybody like loved. She was kind of the girl everybody knew. And she gets murdered. And it's basically the whole case of that, but it turns into kind of this, like... I don't know how you describe it, because it's not sci-fi. It's like...
It's just kind of weird. It's like sort of paranormal-ish.
Yeah, that's the right
like,
word.
it's all kind of
Paranormal.
weird and wonky.
And it just basically turns into all this stuff like that. And it's a really good show. I loved it. It's like 2 seasons.
Yeah, so Alex Hirsch was a big fan of Twin Peaks, and Gravity Falls is partially based off of, or inspired by it anyway, not really based off it. he asked David Lynch to do the voice of Bill Cipher, but David Lynch turned him down. So, according to Alex Hirsch's own words, he decided to do the voice of Bill Cipher in his quote worst David Lynch impression.
The thing is, you can see it when you do. Like,
and to me, like, I don't know what David Lynch actually sounds like, but I just think it's like so funny because David Lynch is like maybe a childhood hero even, and then he's like, oh well, I'll just do my worst impression of you, and that'll be my character.
Well, it's funny because David Lynch is in Twin Peaks. He's a character in the show.
Oh, he is? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, he's one of like the head like government people, and he's not in every episode. He comes in like he's one of Agent Cooper's like head people.
Oh, I see.
But he's like deaf, and so the whole time, every time he comes in, he's just yelling.
Oh,
the whole time in this
so
show.
that makes sense.
So it's like
Bill is always yelling.
The character is deaf or David Lynch is deaf?
The character, David Lynch. Wow.
I think David. Actually, I don't know if David Lynch can hear.
Like,
Well, rock
hey,
beast. I know
do
this.
you remember the Psych episode Dual Spires?
No.
Okay.
Can't.
I was gonna
Not
say,
based off the name.
it's. I know. Well, I was gonna say it's based
Cinnamon
off Twin
Pie.
Peaks. Yeah, the cinnamon. They go for the Cinnamon Festival. It's in the weird little
Yeah.
town. There's the blind guy on the bike who comes. He's a photographer.
That's not ringing a bell.
Okay, I couldn't remember because that episode is literally it's based off Twin Peaks and it has like half the cast of Twin
Yeah.
Peaks. Like if you watch the episode, it's almost the 2 seasons of Twin Peaks collapsed
Combined
into one
combined
episode
into
of
one
Psych in
episode
like a
of Psych.
spin-off show.
Okay.
That's basically what it is. It's hilarious because it's like Dual Spires is funny, but then when you watch Twin Peaks and watch it again, it's like
It's funnier
like
because
it's just
you understand all the jokes and everything.
because it's funny because like the guy on the bike who's like half blind or he's mostly blind but he can only see partially out of one eye, and that's what they figure out in the show. His name is Jack. In Twin Peaks there is a place and it's like a nightclub that all these people, they do all these deals there. It's called One-Eyed Jack's. And so that was the reference they put in. They just made a blind guy named Jack who
okay.
can only see out of one eye. It's a great show. Highly recommend Twin Peaks.
Also highly recommend Gravity Falls.
Oh.
Yes. It's a wonderful show.
It was so different. Like, it just didn't care.
Oh no.
And sometimes for a Disney show, you're like, how did they get away with this?
Honestly.
Earlier, Mercedes and I, when Brent showed up, were watching an episode of Star Wars Rebels. And Brent mentioned in, like, the opening scene to The Force Awakens, I will poison the grog just because Paul's not here. The opening scene of Force Awakens is pure, excellent visual storytelling.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
because my biggest problem, I am a Star Wars fan, and I am saying this as my opinion, right, everybody out there. In my opinion, the prequel trilogy is full too much of telling and not showing.
You're wrong.
Thank you. It talks.
I don't have a dog in this fight.
It talks so much about how much power Anakin has in the films, yet very rarely do we see any actual displays of power. We see it as Darth Vader, but not as Anakin. And that was like the entire thing the prequel trilogy was built around. And in the first like 5 minutes of The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren shows up, he walks on the scene, and he grabs a blaster bolt out of mid-air. Something we had never seen Darth Vader do before. Instantly telling us how powerful this guy is. We had never seen that ability in any Star Wars medium. At least not in any popular. Like, there could have been something in the comics or any of the obscure books, but that had never been shown before. So instantly, it like just visually tells you this guy is a bad dude and he's not to be messed with. And that, I mean, again, you can have your opinions about the rest of the sequel trilogy. Like, I know it has its problems, but that scene is just so perfect in visual storytelling. Because there's no exposition needed there. You just see that and you're like, whoa! I remember you and we saw it together. I was like,
Oh, that's
whoa.
right.
Did John Williams do the music for?
Yes, he did.
That one? Yeah.
He did the music for all of the Skywalker Saga films.
The visual storytelling and the music of that opening scene, like the sound design, everything. I agree with you, Austin. It was perfect.
I mean, it's so good. Like, again, there are other bits in that trilogy, even in that film, that have its issues. Every film does. I'm not going to pretend that it's perfect, but at the same time, I'm like, that scene I just adore because it's just so dang good.
That reminds me of the scene in Godzilla vs. Kong Do you think this is spoiler worthy, or has everyone seen it?
It's been out for a while, but I'm sure we could give a spoiler warning and no one will be too upset.
Sure. The scene where Mechzilla
Mechagodzilla
just rocket punches Godzilla was so sick.
So cool.
Agreed.
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, welcome back. We talked about Godzilla versus Kong.
Great fights.
Oh my gosh, there are so many captains here!
What?
Oh my gosh, there's
my
more!
gosh.
Where are all my boys?
They heard Godzilla and were like,
Like Godzilla.
What?
I have no elf shot.
is a noob?
Why do I have no elf shot?
well, you need it,
I'm not throwing away my shot.
but you have.
I apparently have. Grab it. Now I don't remember. It was dazed by pinning. Oh, they're all my boys. That's why they're so. Let's say, where are all my guys? I know I've played this mission before. I know you come in here with friends. All right, you will now be my friend.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody about that this week a little bit, like that same topic. How, for example, and same thing with this show, it's like whatever your opinions are, whatever your thoughts are, like, totally fine. But like with this new writer in Doctor Who, Chris Chibnall,
Yeah.
a lot of his is telling and not showing. Like especially that first season, it was very, like the episodes themselves weren't like bad, they're just boring because they don't show any. It's just a lot of talking and they're just like, oh, we're gonna go do this is what we're gonna, and it's just like, okay, like let's like move on.
Yeah, can you actually get to the thing
Yeah.
you said you were gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah, and like the new season just started last
down.
week or this week, whatever. Great episode, a lot of visual. There was
Oh, that's right. It did start.
like spoiler alert, like another spoiler alert, skip ahead like 20-30 seconds for this one because this is newer, because it's like 6 episodes this season, but it's all one story arc. But so all the villains, there's ones where they bring them in for like a scene in this first episode, and then later they're gonna have a full episode with how they tie in and stuff. There's one scene, and it's like a 5-minute scene, and it's a girl getting chased by a weeping angel, like down the street, but
Yeah.
there's no like dialogue at all. It's just her like walking down the street. You just see the figure of it behind her. And then it's like chases her to her front door and she's trying to unlock the door, and it's like, and it's awesome, it's so cool, but it's just like, so they've gotten better at it, but
That's
it's just
good.
like being able to see it and not just like, okay, this is boring.
And not be told about it.
Yeah.
I think some of the most satisfaction I've ever got from watching Doctor Who was I wish I could remember the episode name, but it's Peter Capaldi.
Hang on, real quick. Can we just appreciate how I glitched Bruce out?
Oh gosh, he's like, is he frozen? And
Yeah, he's supposed to be frozen. All right, sorry, keep going. Peter Capaldi.
Peter Capaldi is in that sort of reanimation loop.
The Confession Dial.
The Confession Dial.
Hellbent. Or no, Heaven Sent.
Heaven Sent.
That's the episode.
Heaven Sent and what's
Heaven Sent was the first one, was in the Confession Dial, and then Hellbent was the next one.
when he's
Okay,
on
yeah.
Gallifrey.
those 2 episodes are some of the most satisfaction I've ever had watching Doctor Who.
good.
My dad has been rewatching, or he went and rewatched Doctor Who, and when he got to Capaldi, he said, do not watch Heaven Sent. That is by far my absolute favorite
Love that
Doctor
episode.
Because it is true, like, that is actually mostly like exposition, but it is actually really freaking good exposition. And not even like, not really exposition, it's just a lot of the Doctor's musings. And
It's essentially one long monologue.
I know, basically,
Honestly,
and it's so good. Like,
So good.
I find this so funny. If you just look at the highest rated IMDb episodes of Doctor Who, it is Blink and Heaven Sent.
Wow.
Which is funny because Blink hardly features the Doctor at all. And then Heaven Sent is 110% the Doctor. Like, he's the only actor in it.
Seriously.
Except for the kid who shows up at the
Oh,
end.
yeah, because he's
I guess we could also count the lumbering creature thing.
yeah.
But
I mean, Clara's in it, but it's like her little, like, in his head.
yeah.
Like, she
Oh, I
doesn't
need
really
to-
talk or anything, but
Who was my overlord?
yeah, those are such, I very much agree, Brent.
I don't remember.
I think it
Was it
him.
Grisha?
I think he's too low level, and I want to hire. I think he is my highest. The Crimp Maneater. He'll be my overlord. I just remember. Heaven Sent. I could go on about that
That's a
episode.
great. I watched it last week, 2 weeks ago, because it was on TV. Oh, so good.
By the way, this has unlocked a new series of quest lines. All about Bruce. Basically, we have to basically chase Bruce across Mordor now.
Oh, jeez.
As he tries to make life a little difficult for us. I'm just gonna pick myself a new I'll do one of these. Because why not? I mean, I'm not like a film snob, and sometimes I do like films that are just nice and plain, simple, fun. But I just love moments of really excellent visual storytelling. Because, like, I'm going to say, and even go back to Star Wars, for instance. The Star Wars film that I think has my favorite cinematography in terms of what looks super awesome is Rogue One. Rogue One is beautiful. It's awesome. But I will say, not all of its cinematography is specifically, like, meaningful. Because good cinematography is supposed to convey, like, the emotion or the meaning of the scene. Like, it's all about subtext, you know, and that sometimes sounds like a bunch of bull honky. But there are sometimes shots in Rogue One that are just like, that looks so cool. Like, the scene with Darth Vader in the hallway is just pure amazing.
When I saw that, I forget if it was in theaters or if it was afterwards, but the lightsaber went on. There was a smile on my face.
Oh my gosh! Have you seen
Death everywhere? I'm smiling.
I don't think there was. Did you ever see the video that Morgan took of me when I first saw it?
I did not.
Oh, we'll have to find it, because when I came back from my mission, I actually did very well. I avoided Rogue One like the plague. Like, I did not. For 2 years, I didn't know jack about it. I knew the premise from before. But while out there, I didn't see a lick for it. I didn't see anything on it. And so, when I got back, I knew nothing. And so, I did not know that was even a thing. And, ooh, hello. Oh, sure.
You made sure of that.
I know, I did really good at that. Not as good for Last Jedi, but I saw that scene. I had no clue, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, so good. It was just pure, like, holy crap, this is Darth Vader. Like, this is the Darth Vader we've wanted. It's the Darth Vader we've needed. It's just so freaking awesome.
Physical, lumbering, decisive power.
I know, it's just like, because Darth Vader in the films has a presence, but it's not like this quite, like, horrific, terrifying presence that, like, Vader in the comics has. Vader in the comics is absolutely horrifying. And he never really had that in the films, but with Rogue One, it suddenly encapsulated everything. I will say, there is a really meaningful, and I could be wrong in the cinematography of Rogue One, but there is one particular shot of Rogue One that has great cinematography in it. When Vader first arrives on the scene, when Krennic goes to his fortress on Mustafar, and he's standing there in the open waiting for him, and the door starts to slide open, and we just see this giant shadow of Darth Vader on the wall, towering over Krennic, and that is a perfect visual representation of Vader to everyone in the Empire. Like, everyone compared to Vader is tiny, and it is just absolute perfect visualization. Oh, I don't want to talk to you guys. Okay, you got a yes man, that's fine.
That's fine.
But
Look at the Suruk. Now look at the rest of us.
now back to this. We get an Old Spice commercial from Fubar the Trusted.
Heaven knows he needs it.
I would say that The Last Jedi, in my opinion, has the most meaningful cinematography in terms of what it is conveying visually versus, like, what's being shown on screen. And that's actually why I really like The Last Jedi, because it's not afraid to do that. It's not afraid to really kind of let you figure out what's going on as an audience member, which a lot of Star Wars medium is actually really guilty of not letting you do. And I'm going to say it, as a huge fan of the show, The Clone Wars is sometimes very guilty, especially in early seasons, of telling you everything you need to know in very guilty ways of breaking screenwriting rules, like, and not in, like, the good way of breaking screenwriting rules. That was, I guess, my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I find that I enjoy any particular media more when I understand the thought process or what went into it. Things like understanding sound design or learning particular things about cinematography and why things work.
That makes sense.
That's where I really enjoy films.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it does. I mean, and it's kind of the question of, like, what makes it good is like, oh no, well, this didn't go as well as I'd hoped. Let's try again. Like, let's talk about an instance, and this is just me being perfectly honest, but also me being a film student. We all know Phantom Menace. The duel between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Arguably, one of the best choreographed duels in all of Star Wars. In my opinion, the best choreographed duel in all of Star Wars. It is called the Duel of the Fates. Also, the music piece, the Oscar-winning orchestral music piece written by John Williams for that scene is called Duel of the Fates.
That's the dun 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 dun.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one. Very insanely good.
Recognizable.
Exactly. It's just insanely recognizable, insanely good, and just amazing. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody, knew why it was called Duel of the Fates until during a roundtable discussion on the behind-the-scenes stuff of The Mandalorian, they interviewed Dave Filoni. And for those of you who may not know Dave Filoni, he's one of the creative directors of Lucasfilm right now. He was the supervising director for Star Wars The Clone Wars and basically every single animated Star Wars medium except for Star Wars Visions since. He was basically George Lucas's prodigy. He is beloved by many a Star Wars fan because of just how much he loves Star Wars. He just plain loves Star Wars. He doesn't care about all the controversy around it, or at least he doesn't appear to. It's just pure, simple love of Star Wars. And he tells really good stories. So he was also a part of The Mandalorian. He's one of the executive producers over it, and a bunch of the creative stuff that he and Jon Favreau are working on at the moment. And he talked about how he had several discussions with George Lucas while they were working on The Clone Wars together about Jedi, about Star Wars in general. And George Lucas explained to him, and John and Dave talked about this, how it was called Duel of the Fates because essentially what the duel represents with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is, or not with them, but they're involved in it, is depending on how this duel goes will decide Anakin's fate. Like, if Qui-Gon trains him, as he's been wanting to do for the whole film, Anakin's fate will be one thing, but if it ends up being Obi-Wan, it's going to be a completely different fate. And that's why it's called Duel of the Fates.
Duel of the Fates, you're saying, and making sure I heard right, you said the way Qui-Gon wants to train him and the way Obi-Wan wants to train him?
Well, because Qui-Gon throughout the whole film was like, oh, this kid's super special, I want to train him as a Jedi, but the Jedi Council are like, no, you can't do that. Now, which of these idiots is my guy? Oh, really? Jeez Louise, Bork. So basically what George Lucas is saying, like, oh, in this duel with Darth Maul, if Qui-Gon lives, then Anakin's fate will be different because he'll be trained by Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon will train him differently. But if it ends up being Qui-Gon dies, then Obi-Wan's going to be the one who has to train him, and Anakin's fate will be another way. And the fact that was not obvious at all. And people, like, after Dave Filoni explains this, everybody's like, oh, that's so genius. And I'm like, it really is not, because it was not obvious. Like, in my opinion, this is my opinion, anyway, visual, meaning and subtext should be, at some point, obvious. Of, this is what I'm going for in the context of this scene, of this sequence, or whatever. Everyone's like, oh, it's so genius, George Lucas is genius. I'm like, but it's not, because no one knew it. It took Dave Filoni explaining it to us for it to become obvious.
For Dave Filoni, it took George Lucas explaining it to be obvious.
And another thing, Anakin Skywalker's fate was never in question. Because we'd all seen the original trilogy. When The Phantom Menace came out, we all knew what happens to Darth Vader, or to Anakin Skywalker. That was, the number one thing we knew about. The freaking poster. Which, by the way, I will say, the best visual storytelling from The Phantom Menace is the poster. Have you seen the poster? It's just Anakin standing in front of a wall, and his shadow is Darth Vader. That is the best visual storytelling in the entire prequel trilogy. At least in a way that is obvious to the audience. Film people can argue with me about what good visual storytelling is. In my opinion, I think it should be at least somewhat apparent what you're going for. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I've read something similar to where, some sort of twist in a film, if you're doing it just to be different, that's not great storytelling because the audience is expecting this, and it doesn't evoke those emotions of, oh, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
Whoa.
why did that happen? That didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I would tend to agree with you, Austin, that sort of subtext, that reveal, it feels real good when you can guess what's going to happen.
There we go. You're my
A good example that I can think of, even though I had read the book already, was the 6th Harry Potter movie.
With Snape?
No, specifically with the in Fury in the lake.
Oh yeah, where they just come out of the lake.
Yeah, we see Harry like reaching for the water in the lake, and the music is gone.
No,
there's no sound, and you can just tell something is
something
going to
bad
happen.
is gonna go down.
And pop, they appear. That's a great moment that I remember from watching the 6th.
Oh yeah, I remember. It's a good moment.
It was effective,
Yeah.
but it would be subverting our expectations if nothing happened, and that wouldn't feel satisfying at all.
That's my biggest thing. I mean, again, we can all have opinions, and I agree to be respectful. If anyone sees this and has differing opinions on the prequel trilogy, I will respect your opinions as long as you can respect mine, because that's what we need more of in this world, especially among Star Wars fans. I hate being a part of a fandom that likes to tear at each other's throats. Like, it's just not enjoyable.
Well, and respecting the reasons as well.
Yeah, expecting the reasons for why someone might... Like, I've got my reasons, but I will... if someone wants to say, well, I like the prequel trilogy, that's fine. And if you've got good reasons for it, I won't deny you that.
If you have bad reasons as well, that's fine.
I may not understand or agree, but I will respect your reasonings, because that's how we should be. That's just like an honest opinion thing from me. I'm gonna end the episode here pretty soon, because my gosh, this is just... I got borked.
With a thundering bork.
I'll come back and do this later. I'm not in the mood to keep failing at this mission right now. Maybe we'll continue this in the next episode, I don't know. But for right now, I'm just going to end this by saying thank you guys for joining us and watching this episode. Be sure to like the video, comment if you enjoyed it, comment stuff you enjoyed about it, subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of our content, follow us on Twitch. By this point, we probably started doing a lot more on Twitch. Join us on Saturdays for Starships and Sarlaccs, a tabletop RPG we've been doing. I am the game master, and we have a lot of fun. And so, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Leave a thundering bork in the comments.
Yes, thundering bork.
Bork.
Bye.
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 Yes, bork.
Bork. Bork. Bork. Bork.